So next movement is the trigger aerial, or in Portuguese you're going to hear it called the Sem Mao, which is basically just a cartwheel with no hands. It's really similar to the regular aerial cartwheel, but the main difference is just like that side-to-side cartwheel, the angle of inversion is going to be not directly over the top, but a little bit slanted. So in that sense, it's actually easier to learn because the legs, so when the legs pass over the top, that's the longest path they can follow. When you allow the legs to pass a little bit over the side like that, it's a shorter path and it makes it easier to flip over. This is, in my own journey, one of the first moves that I learned, one of the first cool flippy acrobatic moves. So it's not that difficult. It's actually really similar to the butterfly kick, really similar setup, really similar idea. It's just the difference in the butterfly kick is that you stand up when you do the setup, so it becomes horizontal, and in the Sem Mao, in the trigger aerial, you keep your chest down and you basically try to sweep your legs. The progressions are going to be pretty similar to what we did in the aerial cartwheel, just a few modifications. So first off, right, side to side cartwheel. Flexibility helps, understanding the path of the legs, understanding the path of the upper body. And again, for this particular variation, it's absolutely okay for the legs to go like that. The legs do not have to go over the top, but you still want to keep the leg separation, you still want to keep the same rhythm, the same flow of the cartwheel. So once you have that, next step is speed. So fast cartwheel, right? See how fast you can go. Kick the leg hard. When you can gather a little bit of speed, the next step is, again, really similar to what we did in the regular gymnastics-style aerial, is light hands. So you go fast enough, and you can look either forward or at the floor. If you're doing it within a capoeira context, you're going to be wanting to look forward. If you're doing it just for acrobatics, it's okay to look at the floor. It's not going to help or hinder the move in any way. So fast and light hands. So see, when I go fast enough, I have this moment that I can remove the hands. I put the hands down, and after I pass through, I remove them. So you want that kind of speed, because when you don't have the hands at all, you're going to have to go even faster. So that's a really important understanding. Anything where you're in the air and you don't have your hands to help you, you have to go fast. So that speed is important. And one variation that we can play with that we didn't do so much in the gymnastics style aerial is the one hand. So we can do a one arm cartwheel, right? So that's the near hand, the close hand. And what that does, because you don't have as much time or contact with your hands, it just forces you to pass your legs a little bit faster. So that's something you can do, and then the goal, just like we've been doing, try to be as light as possible on the hand. Now the near hand, I don't think helps that much with the aerial, but the far hand cartwheel does. So if I'm going towards the left, near hand is going to be left, far hand is going to be right. So the far hand cartwheel is going to help because you have to be very light with that hand, since you're catching your weight on it, so you don't want to catch it, you want to pass through, and it forces you to do that swing of the upper body. So I'm going to start it like this. Instead of starting in a neutral position, just like we did for the butterfly kick, I want to wind up. So in order to go left, I'm going to start by tilting my body right, I'm going to swing, and I'm going to reach that right arm over my head. So that's going to look like that. And see, already my hand is very light. I didn't pass my whole weight through this hand. A little bit more difficult on my opposite side, but like that, right? So it forces you to kick the leg, to sweep your upper body, and then to get used to what the next step is going to be, which is basically going to be to chuck the movement. So once you have those steps, you can just go for it. This is not a scary move. You don't need mats. If you have a floor that's reasonably soft, like I'm on grass right now, that's perfect for learning this. Worst case, you have your hands. You can put them down. You do have to commit, but if you can butterfly kick, which looks like this, right, you can basically just transform that into the trigger aerial by just gradually getting the chest lower and lower. Now you do have to jump, right? So you have to, it's not a powerful jump because you only have one leg, but you do have to jump, you have to commit, you have to take yourself in the air. What helps me a lot to get the power is that swing of the chest, right? Again, really similar to butterfly kick, but instead of swinging down and then around, I'm basically trying to sweep this left leg. So from here, as I sweep, my upper body is going to make a rotation this way as my legs go. Because I don't have the same heel drive with that side to side setup as I do in the forward takeoff, I have to use a lot more of that upper body swing. And then the arms, this is what I like to do with the arms, is basically this. It seems weird to do it and compare it to the move, but basically, so as I wind up with my arms as well. I swing the left elbow back, that's if I'm going left, and the right elbow across, and that's going to help with that momentum. It's going to help drag that upper body around the legs. And as I said, the legs, they're going to pass a little bit sideways, depending on how you do it. So I'm going to show you, and then landing, just like we did for the side-to-side cartwheel, you're not going to be able to land with your foot facing forward like this. It's going to be rough on the knee, on the hip, and your leg's not going to move all that way. So you want to make sure that you get used to turning that foot out to land. So trick or aerial, Sem Mao. It's going to look like this, right? It's not a high move. You're not going to get a lot of height with this move because it's not how it's made. It's not how it's meant to be designed. You just have to go fast. You have to sweep the upper body. Let's do the other side. So on the other side, interesting enough, this is my good side, this is my not so good side, the legs tend to pass a little bit more sideways, right? Why? Because it makes the flip shorter. I'm not trying to do that, but because I'm not as coordinated on that side, I haven't done as many repetitions, the body's going to find a way to make it easier, and that is why this movement is generally one of the easier kind of flipping movements to learn. So I'll show you a sideways angle. This is my better side. Notice that wind up, right? Even though I'm doing it from standing, I step that leg out and I tilt my chest so I can wind up for it. Because without the wind up, you can do it, but it's a lot more difficult to do. So from the side, it's going to go like this. Right? Let's do the side so you can see what that looks like from a sideways angle. Yeah, so you can see how the legs follow a different path. If you're really stuck on this, again, part of the psychology of the movement is you just have to commit to not putting your hands down. If you understand the speed and momentum, it's not that hard. I've seen some people teach it this way. It's not my personal favorite method, so I don't use this, but some people do, like this. Like they bring their leg up and then flip over it, and then as you start to kind of look down like this, right? As you start to look down, you start to develop some inversion. I typically don't teach with that method. It can be helpful. I think that's actually a better method for like J step, but the two movements can be a bit similar once you break down that slant axis. But anyway, I don't want to go on too long. So that's Sem Mao, trick or aerial. Nice movement. If you're doing like martial arts and spin kicks, one thing you can play with is adding a hook kick, some kind of outside kick before it. That's a way to get momentum. Because in the gymnast aerial, you use forward momentum, you skip forward to get more power. Because this move has a rotational element, you spin to get momentum. So using that spin kick can actually make it easier, assuming that you already know how to do that outside spinning wheel kick. So that's the trick or aerial, Sem Mao. Not scary. Go try it and have fun with it.